today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the Spin Master, or Playmates, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Classic Collection Leonardo. It would be really Playmates in the States, things like that. Canada here, Spin Master does all the distribution here for Playmates. So that's why it says actually Spin Master down below and it doesn't say Playmates. This is a relatively new line of brand new Ninja Turtle toys. Very scarce, also I might add, here in Canada. I was lucky enough to find all 4 figures. But let me tell you though, finding them was next to impossible. I just happened to go into a Walmart one day and sure enough, they were right there. But they had one of every one of each. That's it. That's all they had. And have I seen them since? I have not. Leonardo comes with not only multiple different faces, he comes with a total of 4 different heads. He comes with some shurikens. He comes with a sheath for his katanas, 2 katanas, and he has 2 different canisters of ooze. One looks like it has been opened. The back of the box. The read-up says, inspired by the original TMNT movie 2, The Secret of the Ooze, 1991, these classic movie turtles are geared up for battle and ready to kick some serious shell. With 34 points of articulation and signature weapons, they are a perfect recreation of the old school turtles that busted into the movie screen and changed Turtleverse in a big way. The radical, fun-loving turtles are back, ready to devour pizza and take down bad guys in New York. They are loved around the world and have everyone screaming, Cowabunga. Down below, you've also got that in French, and you've got Spin Master's website, spinmaster.com as well. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up. The first of many, as we're going to have a look at the other turtles as well, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. When we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Classic Collection Leonardo. There's more heading away. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Alright, with Leonardo out of packaging, let's get a better look at the figure itself. There's a little bit of assembly in the sense that you got to add the sheaths on the back here. Now, when you install it, you'll notice that it's not a circular peg at all. Instead, it's actually like a half moon shape. So it's really only going to plug into place one way, but one indicator, I guess one indicator would have been a slot at the top, but they're present on both sides. Go ahead and just attach that in place. A pretty secure fit too, which is good. And you can either take the said katanas, slide those into the sheaths themselves, like that. Or you can, of course, put them into his hands as well. Now, to put them into his hands, the hands themselves don't necessarily clip the katanas in place. In fact, what you have to do is you have to put them into his hands and then just kind of adjust his fingers and his thumb to hold the blade. It doesn't do the greatest of jobs because there's like a little ledge right here that presumably the sword should fit against and like kind of close the fingers around it. I guess it does well, I guess once you wedge it enough in there, it seems to hold fine enough as the alternative to having to close the fingers completely. But do close the fingers just a little bit, as it will help to hold the sword just a little bit better. As you can see, it still kind of pops out. I like that they would have incorporated articulation, but unfortunately it also means that he doesn't do the greatest of jobs of holding the sword. There's one of them. I actually just dropped the other sword. Oh boy, oh boy. There's the other sword right there. Katana. Close that in around his hands. They don't sit the greatest in his hands. If you get them just right, I would say leave them be. Yeah, so that's one little nitpick, is I wish that the hands held the swords just a little bit better. If you're taking this from the cues of the movie anyways, it's not really like Leo does anything with the swords. Neither does Raph. In fact, the only one that really makes contact, or the 2 that make contact in the movie, are Michelangelo's nunchucks and Donatello's staffs. I guess you really couldn't realistically have Leo start slashing or stabbing the foot soldiers, as it is a kid's movie after all. So I think, you know what, we'll just put the swords to the side for now. Leo does come with a ton of other things as well. He comes with 4 shurikens, a total of 4. There's no place really that you can put them on him. In fact, they just sit loose, or if you can do your best to hold them, good luck. Again, they adjust the fingers as you might, they don't hold things very well at all. Shurikens especially are going to be the more difficult thing to hold. Leo also comes with 2 canisters of TGRI ooze, 1 fine, as you can see that there is still liquid or ooze still in the canister. The other one, however, has spilt. It's spilt everywhere. There's right there. So it still has TGRI on there, although it's, I don't know what happened to the font. It looks like the top of the G has been moved over and then taken the space between the G and the R. But like a little bit of ooze kind of oozing out. Careful you don't get near that, Leo. So you guys does come with 2 of those. Like that, I like that. Little nods, little things that you can appreciate, little small accessories go a long way. And then of course he's got some extra heads. Now, personally speaking, if I'm really taking cues from the movie itself, I don't think any of these alternate heads fit well at all for Leo. In fact, the default head that they gave him, I think fits movie Leo probably the best. Although mileage may vary, if your opinion is not that, you can certainly change him out to several different series of interchangeable heads. He has, let me see if I can just get him to stand here. Let's grab all the heads here. He comes with a series of different heads, but although really they're not that much different from one another. In fact, these ones right here are almost identical except for the actual strap or the back of his bandana pointing down versus pointing up. The faces really are not that much different. This one looks a little bit more angry, yes. This one looks a little happier, yes. And then he does also have this one here as well. Which I guess really, if I'm looking at the 3 options, like if I only had these 3 options to choose from, personally speaking, I would probably go with this one right here. Again, kind of just looks a little bit better in my personal opinion. To go ahead and take his head off, just very simple, very large ball joint, and then pop the new head on top of that. None of them, though, I think suit Leo as well as the original head, just personally speaking. So even though I showed you how to change them, I showed you the 3 different heads, ultimately, I think I'm probably going to go with this head right here. Go ahead and pop the head off once again. Revisit the original head. Alright, so having a look at the Leo figure, I think it's actually quite nice. He's got movie colors, so all the elbow pads, the wrist straps, the knee pads, and of course the straps on the back are all brown. Certainly do not have the coloring that they would have from the cartoon itself. His colors are also very muted. More of a kind of slight olive green, more caramel brown, and then we've got a darker brown on his shell. Some nice texturing also in his shell too. That goes certainly a long way. Some sculpt also been put into the sheath, so it's not just a smooth plastic. Granted, I could nitpick this and say, well, the figure itself could use some ample amounts of paint. Granted, it's taken from TMNT 2, which technically doesn't really have as great of puppets, I find, as the original Ninja Turtle movie. I found the original Ninja Turtle movie had much better looking, obviously, the suits that they wore, and by puppets, I mean the animatronic masks that they wore. But I guess a modder, if you got in there, you did a little extra couple of layers of paint, you could really make this figure pop. It still does a good job, but it just needs some, I think, more realistic colors. But I granted understand that the figures themselves are still geared as, a toy alternative. When it comes to his posability, he does have a lot, actually. His head is on a ball joint. Hinged shoulders, as you can see, hinge out, get a full rotation all the way around. He has a swivel point in the bicep area. He has a double hinged elbow. He has a rotation in the wrist. I initially thought a double hinge, but actually, I thought that the fingers were one hinge, but they do independently bend. And then he does have a hinge on the thumb itself. They have an upper torso crunch or an upper torso ball joint, but you really can't do all that much with them because the strap really impedes a lot of that motion and movement. Ball joint legs, top swivel cut on the thigh area, double hinge knee, a hinge on the foot, also allowing a slight ankle pivot. You can rotate the feet all the way around, and he has individually articulated toes. I quite like these figures, in fact. Playmates kind of already had done a release of movie Turtles not too long ago, and I just never got a chance to pick them up. As the story goes here in Canada, they just never came out with them. I was lucky enough to find these, and I think they turned out to be quite good. A little paint could have gone a long way. If I had these skills as a painter, I would go in and probably add a little extra oomph to it. But the fallback, the go-to, having these in default, they still turned out really nice. Things I'm not crazy about, though, the alternate heads are by far not at all realistic to how they look in the movie. This is the better look, personally, and I wish that the swords held a little bit better in his hands. Other than those little two nitpicks, the head's not really being so much the nitpick, because I'm going to go with this head anyways, I think overall it's a great figure. If you can find it, I definitely would say pick him up. Pick him up, pick the other 3 brothers up as well, all of which we will be having a look at in separate videos. Today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Classics, the new line of turtle figures hitting store shelves, which I say hitting store shelves. States probably have had these for a very long time. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have the review of the other 3 turtles, as mentioned. As always, thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you next time.